So good evening class. As promised in the previous lecture, we are going to discuss about inheritance and multiple inheritance. So what is inheritance? Inheritance is a concept in programming where a new class derives a small or large part of its properties and methods from the parent class. This way you don't need to redefine it again for the new class. This has not only the advantage that mistakes during copy paste are avoided, but also as a maintainer and user of the code, you know that properties of parent class has been passed around to the derived class, so it must be something related. For example, in the previous classes, we created a motorcycle, right? For example, consider we have a parent class called cycle, right? So class is cycle. So I'm creating the object and I'm giving its properties and behaviors. So these are the code, and this is going to be provided to you as I have always told you. Now suppose we have to create a new class called Moped. Now a lot of you may not know what is a moped, but a moped is something that used to exist almost like 20-30 years ago. It was more of like an electric scooter, like it ran on petrol, but it was in between a cycle and a motorbike. Not exactly a cycle, not exactly a motorbike, something in between. So it is quite easy to see that moped will have all the properties and behaviors the cycle class already has. Apart from it, it will have engine and 2 seats related information that is peculiar to moped. However, for the rest of it, it can directly inherit from cycle. So please look closely and see how to use inheritance in this case. So we have the moped class, how we are going to derive it, how we are going to derive an object from another parent object. So this is how we go about doing it. I mean, we have discussed these procedures time and again, so I'm not going to go into the details. Just have a look at the code. It's going to be there for you. We are going to provide it to you, so do not worry. You don't need to redefine move and break functions as they already are defined in Moped. However, we do need to define fill petrol function and need redefine the print vehicle info to print. Since vehicle info needs to show engine power. Now let's create a moped. Moped 1, these are the details. Tweaking of features does not change in any way the parent class. Features only get added, edited, removed in the derived class, not in the base class. So let us confirm it. So cycle 1, we are giving certain features to it, certain behaviors and properties to it, and we are getting the details. Color is black, weight is 15, length is 2, height is 1. Then we are giving the behavior, move, brake. Note that the fill petrol method was never defined in the cycle class. So if you define it in the child class, it will not climb up and appear in its parent class. Parent class is protected from changes. The changes are unidirectional. Very, very important. You must remember this, that this is unidirectional. Right? So trying to access the fill petrol for cycle will produce error. Why? We will see. So cycle object does not attribute fill petrol. Now let us see how to implement multiple inheritance. Right? We saw inheritance. Now we are going to see multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance is a situation where 2 or more parent class are inherited in the derived class. Please note that for this particular example, you are not supposed to type the code. You're just supposed to observe, but definitely understand it. For example, consider mobile phone. Like we had this mobile phone long time ago, old style, not the touch screen. It had inherited properties from walkie-talkie that most often you will find with the security personnel or the police people for transmission through air without needing a cable. From a normal push button, like a lot of you would not know what is a push button telephone that used to exist like 40 years ago, 30-40 years ago, when we were very small kids at that point in time, for dialing numbers and picking and dropping calls, and from a small LCD screen for displaying numbers and SMS on screen. So how do we implement these classes? We have the walkie-talkie, normal push button landline, we have the LCD display. These are the details. Now that the three base classes have been defined, let us see the use of multiple inheritance to design the mobile phone class. We have made one simplistic assumption for the sake of keeping the program short. All engineering science students can laugh now. This is for the college students, like when I give lectures in person. Landline number and corresponding radio frequency ID are related. So the radio frequency ID is landline number divided by 10,000. So please pay close attention and learn how to implement the multiple inheritance. So here what I have done is define initialization. I have given certain aspect to what I'm creating, the object that I'm creating. Then dial number, receive from number. Then mobile 1 is created, and these are the details. Now what we are going to do is, if we have understood the concept of inheritance and multiple inheritance, we are going to go back to the Batman problem of the first half of lecture. I'm copy pasting 3 classes from the first part. So we are going to import time, class bad bird, and then we have already done this, so I'm not going to get into the details. I have the motorcycle class. If you remember, we have done all this. We have the man. So what we are going to do is, okay, now we are going to take a short break and we are going to come back to the lecture. Thank you.